I'm Terry David Mulligan, and this is Tasting Room Radio. This is a I have had complicated relationships with the Zoom machine. Some worked, some didn't. This is actually, I think, going to work. There's a human factor involved because there's 5 wineries. There's five, actually 6 in total, we're going to be talking to you. But we are missing one of the key ingredients, Rob Westbury, and he'll come in here. He'll come in riding in on his horse from Nagito. But anyway, in the meantime, let me introduce him. And you can see on the screen if you're following us along on Zoom. I'm so excited. From Black Market, Rob Hammersley. Hello, Rob.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
You as well.
Did you shave today?
I haven't shaved in 2 years.
Okay, fine. Rob Westbury will be here in a moment from Nagging Doubt, I'm sure. From Niche Wine Company in West Kelowna, Joanna and James Slosher. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to thank you so much. From Tender Hope, Effie Perrell from West Kelowna. Hi. Effie.
How you doing?
And my long distance pal, Michael Mosney, from Winemaker's Cut. Michael.
Hi Terry, how are you?
Very well. I like your vineyard in the back there. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I noticed the rope has also beautiful virtual background.
Yeah, it's not virtual. This is it.
The problem is that we can hear your voice bouncing off the walls of whatever room you're sitting in. It's kind of cool. All right, here's the deal. This all started with a wonderful release. Maybe on camera, pick it up like that. It was one of the greatest little releases I had ever received because it was concise, it was brilliant, it was well done, and I like the people involved. It's called Grand Cru Collective, and we're going to explain who they are in just a moment as we go. James, would you kindly be our spokesman for just a moment and give us an overview on the collective and why they came together like this?
Sure. Well, I'm sure my compatriots can fill in some of the missing details, but we were fortunate enough that all wine tastings are ordered by alphabetically. So Niche comes right after Nagging Doubt. So for years, we've been next to Rob and Abby at wine tastings and, quickly come to realize that there's a lot of shared problems and a lot of shared opportunities amongst small wineries. And we find that most consortiums actually kind of group themselves geographically.
That's right.
So Naramata Bench, and you have, Corkscrew Drive and all those great people. But then there's also different sizes of wineries throughout the Okanagan, and small wineries have different challenges than medium and big wineries. So just through those conversations, we kind of started the concept, and then, Rob knew the other Rob from Black Market, and then I met Effie and Michael sometime thereafter, and it just kind of all gelled together at that point.
But I mean, do you want to be considered you can't be considered a region, and are you going to stay at 5 or can you expand that group?
Yes, we've kind of had some initial meetings with a co-op advisor, and the general consensus is we can get a little bit larger, but not that much larger. It becomes a bit unwieldy at some point. But I think overall, and everybody else can jump in and disagree when I say something incorrectly. But basically what we can do to collectively is we all keep our own styles. We all keep our own winemaking process. But in those areas where it might make sense financially to mirror a 50,000 case winery, none of us are close to 50,000 cases, but collectively as a group, we can mirror that. And so we can do economies of scale, and we can do joint marketing efforts together and all those great things. So that's one of the big benefits.
So I think where that comes in handy is, things like buying bottles. So we all have our own unique winemaking style and marketing style and different things that we're doing, but buying power, that it helps with things like that.
Joanna, lean into your husband just a bit. Would you be just go on? See, there you go. Thank you. All right. Well, and if anybody has any comments on the group itself and its makeup and perhaps its place in BC wine, when we get to you, just fire away. I see that we are now we are in Nagging Out territory. Rob Westbury has joined us. Rob, how are you? Good. Don't forget to be kind. Here we go. I'm gonna do this in the order that the Joanna, what do they call this? What's the correct term for this piece of paper? What do you call it?
It's just a brochure about.
Brochure. Thank you. It's a brochure, and it starts with Black Market. Rob Hammersley, in Culloden, right next door to Birchblock.
That's correct. They're our neighbors.
And apparently you exchange advice across the fence.
We exchange more than that. We during COVID, we were having sort of a weekly cocktail hour on sitting down on either side of the fence.
Yeah.
We'd share wine, we'd share some food, but we would be responsibly distanced from each other.
I know you do this a lot. Every time you pour, you explain what Black Market Wine Co. is. How large are you? How large do you want to get?
Right now, we're just shy of 2,000 cases a year. We'd like to be in the sort of 5,000 or 6,000 range relatively soon, but we're still quite small and manageable from the perspective of Michelle and I.
And do you think like a garagiste?
I do think that way. That's kind of where my roots are, and I think I'll always think that way.
Okay. I'm going to jump straight into this because I asked you a very difficult question in that our assignment. Only bring 2 wines to talk about because some of you have a lot more than that. You have your favorites, but you sent along a 2019 crisp dry rosé Omerta. Tell me about that.
So this is the first year that we've made our rosé from Syrah grapes, and one of the challenges that we face as small wineries is sourcing fruit, and we don't grow Syrah on our property, so we've been sourcing it from another vineyard in Soyuz. Sure. And it tends to be one of the more expensive red grapes, and so from a business perspective, sometimes it's hard to take a grape that you can turn into a $35 red wine and put it into a $24 rosé. And so we were fortunate. We've been
Stay with me, buddy. Stay with me.
The same.
Hello, Culloden.
For a number of
well, it's a great place to grow grapes, but it's hard to get a connection.
Yeah, well, now we can.
Hello.
But when you got to the really important part, okay, fine. We'll be back.
Wow. Yeah, he left.
Gee, I hope he wasn't mad. Here we go. Let's see if he'll come back. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. He was going to talk about his Omerta, this rosé from Syrah. $24, by the way. And the 2017. There we go. Can
you hear me again?
Of course, we can hear you. The Omerta. There's a nice note. It finishes dry, but what's happening in the middle?
It's quite fruit forward. It's very much made in the styles of rosé from Provence. So it's got that nice dry finish, great minerality, really, really good acidity, which is one of the hallmarks of fruit from the Okanagan. Yeah. And just bursting with red fruits.
Okay. It's $24. How many cases?
We did 110 cases.
There you go. I want to get that one down. Okay, I'm going to ask you all that same question. Cherries, melon, berries, lots, gorgeous. The 2017 Syndicate. I'll let you run the blend.
Sure. So this is our take on a Bordeaux-inspired red blend. Right. So the 2017 vintage is 50% Merlot, about 30% Cabernet Franc, and 20% Petit Verdot. Very high proportion of Petit Verdot relative to many other Bordeaux-style blends, but I love the floral lift that grape brings to the blend. If you get a chance, would you do a single vineyard Petit Verdot down the road? Funny you mention that. I'm considering doing that for next year. Okay, that's just me being selfish because I love that. Black fruit. I love the dark chocolate. I love the tobacco notes. It's $35. How many cases of this Syndicate did you make? 300. Okay, and in cellar, what? 5 years? 7 years? 5 to 10 years, ideally. Wow. Yeah, it's got great structure, great tannins, good acidity, definitely everything that it needs to have a few years in bottle. Rob Hammersley, Black Market Wine Co. We go next in this Grand Cru collective to Rob Westbury from East Kelowna, representing East Kelowna, Nagging Doubt. Hello, Rob.
Hi, how are you? Sorry I was late. I'm Zoom challenged. What can I tell you? You're not near as bad as my reunion. Here's what I saw when my reunion got together. It was like this. Can you hear me? Are you there? It was sad. It was so sad. A quick overview on Nagging Doubt, if you can.
You bet. So small lot,
artisanal winery located in beautiful southeast Kelowna. We have a estate vineyard, about 5.5 acres, with Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and a German varietal called Zigarribe. And then we also have grower contracts further south for our richer red blends.
The 2018 Swallows Road Chard is, tell us about Swallows Road.
So it's at Swallows Road is our state vineyard. So that's the road that our winery is situated on. And I submitted the 2018 because it's a special year for us. That's the first year we were able to get a harvest off our vineyard. Our vineyard is actually newly planted. We planted it ourselves over 2 years, so 2014, 2015. And as you know, on average, it takes a vine to be at least 4 years in age to be able to be mature enough to ripen fruit, at least for the purposes of making wine. And so 2018 was that year for us. So so the 2018 Chardonnay holds a special place in my heart. It's one of the first wines we made and grew ourselves.
I forgot what a good talker you are. Age 25%, new French puncheons, lemon, Granny Smith, if I got my apples correctly, minerality. It's the full bang. It's really good.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. So I love French wine, as you know. Chablis is kind of my template with Chardonnay. It does not taste like Chablis, that wine, but it's in that genre. So it's very lightly oaked, 20-25% done in French oak, the rest in stainless steel. Light, crisp, refreshing style Chardonnay as opposed to like an oaky, buttery style Chardonnay.
2018 Swallows Road Chardonnay from Nagging Doubt. How many cases?
We made all of 289 cases of that.
And price point?
It is $21 all in.
Get out.
Taxes and everything.
Get out of here.
It's practically free.
The Leap, 2018, 200 cases. Plum, a blackberry, black fruit, cherry. Oh, there's a lot to deal with there. Oak and vanilla pairs well with land. Everything pairs well with just living. Tell me about the blend.
You bet. So we make 2 red blends. You're familiar with one of them. It's called the Pull. Yeah. And the Leap is its younger brother or sister. It is meant to be a simpler blend of three grapes. So it's Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Malbec. It is what I call a great barbecue wine. This is fantastic with anything grilled like a steak or lamb on your barbecue.
I've been kicking this around. It's empty, by the way.
I like the way you drink.
Thank you. Well, you got to sip and spit. No.
I guess they tell me I have to do that.
Did I ask the price point on the Leap?
The Leap all in is $23.
You're practically giving this away.
It's practically free.
That is fantastic. Way to go, Rob. Rob Rusbury, Nagging Doubt, East Kelowna. We move on to Niche Wine Company, West Kelowna, Joanna and James Schlosser. And Joanna is featured on last week's. We just did a feature on women in wine in British Columbia with Sandra Oldfield, and the first name at the top of the list was Joanna.
Oh
and
my!
You don't even know what we said about you.
It's unnerving, to be honest.
Yeah, she likes your spunk. I believe this. You've been small batch. Define small batch for me.
Oh, James,
No, you go ahead.
You.
You're the
No, please don't. Please.
marketing people.
I know, but I feel like that's really a question for the winemaker.
Yeah, well, so I guess unlike Rob, I've grown up on the piece of property that our winery is on since I was as young as 2, I believe. So my parents actually started growing grapes there well over 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But on a very small piece of property. So it was 8 acres in total, but only 2 acres was planted in grapes. We got our winery license based on that. And then we bought some crown land up above about 10 years ago, or even more than that, 12 years ago. And they planted another 4 acres of vineyard up top there. So that's our entire estate is roughly around 6 acres. And we've been making mostly our wines historically until very recently, just off of the fruit off of our own property. So very small batches. We've got a lot of different varieties growing up there. We've got some Chardonnay, we got some Pinot Blanc, we got some Riesling, we've got some Gewürztraminer. We've got a lot of Pinot Noir and some Marshall Foch.
I saw that Foch go by. No Marsan Roussan?
No.
Okay, fine. Well, if you could. Small batch, big love, 175 cases. The small batch bubbles at $26. What are we getting for that 26?
Yeah, so Joanna believes very much like bubbles should be every part of your day. So basically that's what we're trying to accomplish with that wine. It's a very simple wine. It's actually made out of Gewürztraminer, but we make it in a little bit of a different way. It's all hand-picked. It comes into the winery in 20-pound totes. It's crushed and destemmed and pressed right away, and then it's fermented actually in 208-liter stainless steel drums.
How long do you stir it?
We stir it for about 4 or 5 months that way, and then
It's a wonderful texture, wonderful mouthfeel. Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to get out of it. It's actually a direct carbonated wine, but we try to do all that processing part at the beginning to get some of that texture to it by doing those stirrings, and then we bottle it from there.
And how hard is the chase to find this wine?
How hard is it, Joanna?
This wine's actually available at Save On Foods, so you can find it across the province.
Okay, I have to leave now. So. Save On Foods. By the way, congratulations on the Farm Fresh White. I love the fact that it's a field blend, Gewürz, Pinot Blanc, Riesling, and did you put field blend on the label?
No, but that's a good term.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like
That's my crush. That's currently what I'm all excited about. Pinot Noir Blanc, 95 cases, $24. What's going on in there?
Yeah, so that's actually this is what we love about small wineries and working with other small wineries is it lets you become a little bit innovative.
Yeah.
Joanna and I tried a couple of white Pinot Noirs in Oregon, but nobody was really doing a lot of that up in the Okanagan. They were making some, single varietal rosés. So we tried to make a few white Pinot Noirs, and some of them are a little whiter than others. It all depends how I'm getting a little bit old, Terry, so I can't move as quickly on the crush pad as I used to. So sometimes they soak a little bit longer than they used to when I was younger. But yeah, it's just same kind of process as our Gewürz. It's all hand-picked and comes in small totes, and then it's crushed, destemmed, and right away it goes right into the press and is pressed off from there.
Yeah,
some years we barrel ferment a little bit of it, and some years it's 100% stainless steel. That vintage is 100% stainless steel.
And so from field to press is usually under the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
Just to give a sense of how quickly
2
it
hours.
happened.
Okay. Oysters. Can I do my oysters with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Tyler.
Do you really have a 2-barrel Pinot Noir?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now you're just playing with us. Okay, fine. All right, fine. Let's move on because they have been very patient. Effie Perrell, I have never met you. I like your hair today.
Thanks.
Tender
It's
Hope.
like this every day. Yeah.
Tender Hope, West Kelowna. Let's ask about Tender Hope and then about you. You've been growing and making wine for quite some time, 25 years. Where did you start growing and making?
I was born in Israel. My father is originally from Ottawa, but I was born in Jerusalem, and we lived in a small place. I was working in agriculture since I was 12 years old in the summers, and I got the wine bug around 18, 19, and then just went to work in a quite a large vineyard there in the desert. And that's where my grower career started. I think something very interesting with all of us is that we were first growers, I think, and then winemakers. All of us are coming from growing wine and being in the vineyard, and that's why we really appreciate the vineyards. And we think that most of the work and most of the quality of the wines comes from the vineyards, not from the winemaking. That's my philosophy anyhow.
Okay, so, West Kelowna, 2019 Rose Blanc. No, check that. I can't read my own writing. 2019 Rose Bubble, a Rosé Bubble BQA, 270 cases.
Yeah.
That's a process, like whole cluster, like.
Yeah. So last year I made a lot of a sparkling base, and usually I make the sparkling a traditional method, but it takes around 2 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of people really like our sparkling, our 2017, and they wanted something for the summer. So I decided to take some of that sparkling base and make a very fun bubble wine for the summer that you can drink on its own, or
Here's how much fun this is.
Yeah.
Some of you on the screen will know when I say the peony candy floss. There's just, I don't know, I can't remember if it was on the nose or the mouth. How did he do that? How did that happen? It's fantastic.
I don't do it. It's the grapes. They do it themselves. It's the grapes in the East, so I cannot take credit.
Okay, so it's what's the price point on the 2019 Rosé Bubble?
It's $23.
Way to go, man! Way to go. Now, the Fire Dance Meritage. What's the blend?
The blend is 50% Merlot, 21% Cab Franc, 15% Cab Sauv, and 40% Malbec.
Malbec.
Yeah.
Cloves right up. Bam, boom, with cloves. We just went through the roof. Dark fruit, floral, French oak.
Yeah, there is a French oak, around 35% new oak, and the rest is in neutral barrels.
Is it 335 cases?
Yeah, it is.
Good Lord. And price point?
It's $24.80.
I warned you, the audience, I warned you that this would be as much business as it would be passionate about wine and stuff, because you need this information. You need to know what these guys are up to. It's important that you know this. So Tender Hope, West Kelowna, call them Effie. Now, we come to, you guys know the story of myself and Michael Mosny and his wife? Do you know how we met? I hosted a television show, television series called Hollywood and Vines. It took us 7 years to shoot, 3 years, because we were busy. And sitting in Croatia, Michael, he saw us in the Okanagan, shooting in the Okanagan, and somehow convinced his wife, or his wife convinced him, to come to the Okanagan, check it out. They checked it out. They liked it. They sold everything. They went back, sold everything when they went back home. It came. Now, here he is, winemaker cut.
Yeah, well, you brought me here to it. Really.
Well, listen, you have created your mini empire on your own, the two of you. You're in the Oliver area. Dead Man's Lake.
Yes.
How different is it?
Oh, it's super different. Like this is the bottom part of Golden Mile, and I especially like Dead Man's Lake Vineyard because of the soil. Dead Man's Lake Vineyard just like Spotted Lake on the other side of the hill. In dry summer months when it's too hot, too dry, you can see white spots on the surface of these lakes.
Yeah,
that's just a confirmation of how rich is the soil in this area. The soil is not sandy, not gravelly. It's dark brown Chernozem combined with shale.
You're making wines that are described as cut,
yes,
Bohemian, and Boho, and also heritage wines. For example, the 2019 Gruner, Shades of Slovakia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the varietal that I was, growing and making wine ever since I was basically child. So I grew up on making Gruner Veltliner. So when I came here and I couldn't process any Gruner grapes that harvest, it kind of felt awkward. So finally in 2018 was the first time I got my hands on some Gruner Veltliner grapes. So I started making it. I didn't really think that people will like it because such a weird name. And first time I made 100 cases, and I thought like, well, if nobody buys it, I'll drink it myself because this was the wine that we used to drink every day with lunch.
I think we'd all do that. Yes.
Yeah. And then it sold out really quickly, so we slightly increased production last year to 300 cases.
300 cases. All right.
And our Gruner basically, it always reminds me Wiener Schnitzel potato salad every day.
Something light on the patio. What's the price point?
26.
Thank you very much. Now, the Bohemia Cuvée 2018. You have two. You have a Blanc and a Rosé. So which one do you want to present?
Well, the Bohemian Cuvée is like our specialty wine blend, Oliver blend.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to present it is because we are almost running out of the 2018 vintage. Now we are bottling the 2019.
Yeah.
I just love it because it's basically a Bordeaux varietal blend, but we add a little bit of Syrah just to confuse customers and me too, maybe.
Okay.
And I just love it because the moment we add Syrah, 10% Syrah, the pepper there is just outstanding.
The 2018 Blanc. So you've got the Rouge and the Blanc.
Yes. The blanc is the blanc we are releasing this fall.
It's your first time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So rouge and blanc, they should be both like a white and red meritage.
Price point on the bottles?
26. On the rouge, 36.
Okay, cool. Well, here we are. We've done the run through all of you. I realized it was painful to sit and have to listen to it, and especially the two Robs wanted to leave now and go for lunch. But here's what I need to just ask in general, with the remaining time we have left. It's not much. Collectively, like there's two things: the story that comes with the wine that everybody wants to pass on. They want to tell stories about why this wine, why they're pouring it for their friends, why they brought it home. You have a collective story here to tell. How do you get that story out? Because everybody has a different story. Do we have to talk to you individually, or will this collective speak to us in a single voice? Anyone?
I've already talked enough, so I'll turn it over to one of our other now that the questions are getting harder, I'll turn it over to them.
How about a Rob off? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. So I guess the way I look at it is there's two components to working together as a group. One is not a marketing component. One is just a bunch of people who are passionate about wine, who pass on advice, knowledge, but also logistics of making wine, as we mentioned earlier, simple things like purchasing bottles together to keep our costs down so that we can compete with larger entities. And then there's that public side. We all have a passion for wine that's quite similar, in my opinion. Effie mentioned the vineyard, as did Michael. We all are making small lot, by hand wine. That's a very common theme amongst all of us, and we think we can tell that story together as well. So I kind of see it as two sides of the collective. One is a public side, and one is just a winemaking side.
Have you actually all been in the same room at the same time?
Yeah.
Just last week.
Yes. And most people need grief counseling after I'm in the middle.
All right. So listen.
Let me add one thing to the what brings us all together. We have a very common vision in terms of winemaking and growing grapes, and we've already talked about that. But we also have very unique and distinct styles of making wines. So you're going to try a bottle of mine, and it's going to be very different than the rest of the wines that the collective are making. Although we share that same sort of philosophy, we all produce very unique wines, and so we feel it's a very supportive group because we're not really competing with each other.
Wonderful. Effie, I'm so glad that you ended up in the Okanagan.
Thank you.
I mean,
Me too.
First of all, it's safer here, somewhat. You seem to have captured the essence of the soil around you. It's a wonderful one. Way to go.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. When I first came, I was driving. I was like, I almost fell off the cliff. Just looking at the scenery is just like, I mean, we're all so used to it now, but it's really one of the most beautiful places in the world. But
and Michael, when you guys drove down that highway and you saw the valley, what did you think?
Oh, we arrived 11 evening at night, so we didn't see anything, and then we found accommodation in Naramata, and the next morning we wake up and I was like, okay, I cannot be alive. This is heaven, probably, because I saw a vineyard and I saw a lake, and then I saw apex in the background. And I was like, this cannot be real.
Wow.
And now it's pretty much boring already,
Joanna, can you tell us about the box offer? How people can get the sort of what they call a sample box?
Yes, I sure can. So we partnered with Public Liquor, which is a Kelowna-based small liquor store, and they are selling online and in store a collection of 5 wines, one from each of us. And so I believe the box is about $125, and you get a little sample, a bottle from each of the 5 wineries involved.
Cool. What's the price point on that? Do we know?
It's about $125.
Okay. 5 bottles, 6 bottles?
5 bottles, yeah.
Okay.
5 partners, 5 bottles. The Robs both tried to throw in an extra one, but
of course he did. That's a given.
Got struck down.
Okay. And finally, if we were just, I realize that you guys don't do tours up at you're a little busy at Niche. And you know, everybody's hands on doing their stuff. But if you did a tour, how long would it take to do the loop? What do you got? You got West Kelowna, East Kelowna, you got Culloden, you got and the Oliver area.
Mm-hmm.
Would it take half a day?
Yeah, I would say probably. I mean, it takes about an hour and a half to get from Kelowna down to Oliver. So I would say 3 hours to do the whole loop, but that doesn't include the amount of.
Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't.
So maybe call it a day.
And here's the deal: is there a collective website, Joanna?
No, but we do have a collective Instagram and Facebook set up.
Can you give it to us?
Yes, it's Grand Crew Collective.
CREW.
Yes, sorry, yes.
And I will put all of your website information on Tasty Room Radio at mulliganstew.ca, and we'll let everybody know. And let's have a group hug. There you go. Thank you so much. That's about as safe as it's going to get. Thank you so much for Grand Crew Collective. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Niche. Thank you, Rob Westbury. Thank you, Black Market, and Rob, the double Robs, the Tender Hope, and Michael Mawson from Winemaker's Cut. I was so consumed with this, trying to get it right, and it actually worked.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
And I'm saying you can have the video, you can have the audio, you can put it on your websites if you want. I'm so thrilled that this happened. Way to go. Congratulations.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
Terry.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.